So, all right, we are 3 minutes past. I think we can probably go ahead and kick off, and a few folks may roll in late. Others will catch the recording, and that is all well and good. So why don't we start? I am, of course, Jonathan Van Kloot. I'm the community manager for Trading Research Group. You guys all know me because I think at the moment, actually, I see one name I don't recognize. So right now, it's mostly TRG folks anyway. So good morning, gang. Good to, I guess not see you, but hear you or read you. There you go. Good to read you today. So we are doing an Ask Me Anything with Chris, of course, the CEO of LeeLoo. So hello, Chris. Welcome and good morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks. Glad to be here.
You're in where are you? I forget.
Yeah.
Montana?
So LeeLoo is out of Montana. I'm actually
Yes.
in the good old south of the U.S. here in Tennessee. So,
okay.
Yeah, where the good food is.
We eat well. How long have you been in Tennessee?
So we've been here for a couple of years. I actually grew up in Florida. And so I had this weird upbringing, where we're in the South, but it was with like all this Northern people. So I never experienced the South until I went to college in Alabama and then in Tennessee. And, so I got the real deal.
Real South.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, since this is an Ask Me Anything, we have got some questions that have been submitted. And I believe, in fact, let's see here. Somewhere I had the list. I've lost track of it. And I don't want to go digging for it right now because I'm screen sharing. And then everyone will have to watch me go digging, try to figure out where it went. So I believe, let's see, Lee, do you have the questions? Can you start those while I go dig?
Yeah, I do. In fact, Chris, why don't we just kick it off with a little bit about how you came to be CEO of LeeLoo, and also something that people always wonder about is where on earth did the name LeeLoo come from for the organization?
Yeah, sure. So LeeLoo. Well, let me start with the name because I think it was interesting. Because I also had the same question. In fact, I'll say this: it's before I even worked at LeeLoo, I was a trader with LeeLoo, just like many of you guys are. And before that, though, my mentor that was teaching me how to trade, he's been trading for 25 years. And one day he's been a friend of mine, but I never knew what he did for a living. And finally, I was tired to see him have all this fun and never work. And I was like, dude, what do you do? And he's like, he didn't want to tell me. He just, because what it really brought, he was like, I do something with the market. And I'm like, no, dude, seriously, I'm going to sit you down. What do you do? And then he started talking about the futures market. And I was like, what is the futures market? We started talking about that. And then I told him, okay, I want you to teach me what you know. And then he said, look, if you give me 4 years, I'll do it. But it's not going to be an overnight. And I said, 4 years. And then, we kind of talked back and forth. And eventually we started practicing and he teaching. And we did sim trading for like a year. And eventually he said, okay, you're ready. And I said, okay, great. Where do I put my money? And he's like, whoa, no, sorry. You're ready to go to like a company like LeeLoo. And I was like, what is LeeLoo? And he's like, I got a couple payouts from them. They're legit. Check them out, sign up for an account. And I said, of course I did what everybody did, right? Google LeeLoo. And this is back when, and it's funny, but it's embarrassing. But when I Googled LeeLoo and I looked at their YouTube videos, this is several years ago, it looked like a scam. If you look at their early YouTube videos, right? And so I was like, I looked at those videos and I said to my friend, I was like, dude, this is a scam, dude. So I'm not gonna pay $150 to do an evaluation here. And he was like, no, dude, I gotta pay out, so it's not a scam. I'm like, look at these videos, dude. They look like a total scam. And then I looked at the videos again over and over again, and I realized they were so bad that they can't be a scam because scammers are pretty good, right?
Right, they're polished.
And so I was like, you know what? I don't think a scammer would do this bad of a video, so this is legit, right? So I paid, and I actually qualified within the first week, or in 10 days. But like I met my profit target in the first week, and I was really excited. So anyway, so I started at LeeLoo as a trader, And I built a relationship with the team, and with Jody eventually came on board. We had a conversation, and I just enjoyed the environment so much. And with my background, I've been in different industries, more in the financial industries like banking and stuff, and healthcare. And we just, she saw my work ethic and what I brought to the table, and we were able to create like more of a partnership and go from there. And that's I became the COO first. We don't make a big deal about those kind of things. You guys probably never knew. And then in February of this year, I became the CEO. And that's kind of how that came to be. But even more exciting than that is the name LeeLoo. And so one day I asked Jody, who's, by the way, those who don't know, Jody is the owner along with her two siblings. They're out of Montana. They have their fourth or fifth generation ranchers, and they do many other businesses and including trading. And so I asked her, "Hey, how did you come up with the name LeeLoo?" And it's from a fictional character from my movie, and it's this.
So it really is from The Fifth Element? Seriously?
It is. It is.
Holy crap!
Yeah. And so I'm not familiar with that movie. I'm not a big movie person, mainly because I can't stay awake during the movies. And so it becomes a really expensive nap most of the time. But my understanding, what she told me, was this character that's really about the supreme being, and she's a protector and this kind of stuff. And she really kind of fell in love with that. And that's kind of what she kind of wanted, in a way, Lily to kind of represent, at least in the front.
That's too funny. I think any of us who have seen that movie, or have seen it multiple times in some cases, we all got that connection. But I at least for one certainly dismissed it as like, no, it couldn't possibly be. That's just a coincidence.
Right.
There's no way it's that.
Right.
I'm stunned to find out it actually is.
That's funny. Yeah. I was thinking, okay, maybe this is like a family's like middle name, or something.
Right.
Like,
I figured it was something. It was like a concatenation of Lee somehow and a Lou somehow, and they put them together, or
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Wow.
And this is making emoji trading sound sensible.
That's funny. Yeah.
So, Chris, something you mentioned that the Jody's family and is involved in trading as ranchers, and actually in our membership we've got a guy. Well, in fact, I know we've got one member and also a software client of mine who his family has a big ranch in Alabama, and he's into trading. He's also a lawyer, but we also have a member who has a reasonably sized farm, and he's also a broker for farmers. So what's the nature of the trading that Jody and her family are involved with? Is it speculative, or are they hedging based upon their ranching activity?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't, for some reason, we don't speak a lot about, exactly how she trades. I when it comes to trading, when I was learning trading, I didn't want my mentor said, look, there's multiple great ways to trade out there, different things, different strategies, all that. Most of them all work. But I'm going to teach you something. And the best thing you can do for yourself was don't listen to anyone else. Just learn from one person. In this case, it's him teaching me, and just do this. And so I kind of avoided listening or trying to talk to someone I would look up to, like Jody, for example, and ask him any questions, because then I will be kind of wanting to pull that way. So I actually don't know exactly what type of trading or style she does, but I know she does like futures trading, but I couldn't tell you exactly what instrument or what type or what is her style, or if it has anything kind of do with the ranching community. So I couldn't answer that quite honestly.
Cool. Okay. And then as I think about our client our member who has a farm, I know he does a mix, and he will trade, let's say speculatively on ES and this kind of thing. But I know he also does hedging, both for himself and his own production, and also some of his clients of his brokerage where they're, using futures in the original application of futures contracts to, fix prices for their future production of agricultural goods.
Oh, well, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so her family's, they've been doing, they have the company, or their family's name is the broker, and they have the Charlet beef, and it's a really interesting story. They actually, their siblings, and actually including Jody, they have a beef company also. They sell beef delivered to your home. But I know her brother does a lot of more other ranching and farming kind of scenarios. But yeah, that's interesting to hear about, some of your traders.
Mm.
So, Chris, are you still trading yourself, or are you focused more on just business side these days?
I do trade, yeah. And so it's been a fun journey, and I'm still in that journey. So when I started with LeeLoo, before working here, right, that was my first experience into, having some risk involved, in the sense of, okay, I'm putting some money in, right? It's not a lot of money, but it's money nonetheless. And so yes, I'm still trading, but now I went over, and I got plenty of payouts, and so my mentor, and I still talk to him daily. He said, okay, you're ready now to open your own account. And so now I'm in my own account with two different brokers. But many of you guys probably know, Thinkorswim,
Sure.
and then Ninja. And so I got those two. But so I don't trade with LeeLoo anymore like I did. But that was just because he said I was ready to move on from that.
Right. Yeah, that was actually what I was wondering, was, are you still utilizing any of the LeeLoo account types for any purposes? I know within TRG, in addition to trying to use these evaluations to actually pass them and get funded accounts and so forth, a lot of us like to use them as just kind of a sandbox to test out new strategic ideas and so forth. And the goal may or may not be actually to, I'm going to get this funded. The goal is more, right, is this idea valid? Does this have anything to it? And it's just a good way to kind of keep it isolated from everything else we're doing. So do you ever use the LeeLoo evals still for anything?
Yeah, I think I do. And the reason is, like you just said, if because of the way it's structured, it helps me, kind of keeps me in the box, which, again, just speaking for myself, it's made me a better trader because of the discipline. And when you're trading your own money, and for those that do that, there you can lose, $5,000-$10,000 really quick. And so, sticking to your plan and sticking to your A-team strategy, and I use an A-team strategy, just avoiding trying to move that stop loss, right? Like, oh, let me just breathe a little more, a little more, and then that little more becomes $5,000, $10,000, $20,000,
Yep.
And so yes, I use the different practice accounts, but I don't trade in the sense of I don't get payouts anymore. So I got plenty already. So, and I just trade my own accounts. But yeah, I do use them for, like you said, practice, staying sharper. And when I'm learning new things, if I'm learning like rounding patterns, for example, or trying to practice on my rounding patterns, I would use those.
Gotcha. Did you find, because you started out in their eval accounts, and I'm assuming at that time, I mean, I've only known about LeeLoo for about a year and a half now. Yeah. I'm assuming that back when you were first starting out and using their eval accounts, they still had all the same, trailing drawdown and loss limits and all that stuff. So obviously you had to follow those rules. Did you find, let me rephrase that. Do you find that you still use any of the habits or the risk management that those rules enforced, or did you find that once you had the freedom of a cash account, you could do things differently and kind of develop your own approach to risk management?
Yeah, good question. So, again, this is just how I trade and how I've done it, but in no way I'm, telling people how to trade on their own.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But, to me, when I started, because I did sim for a year, right? and before I even did anything else, and it's not like a time he gave me. It was a goal that I had to meet. And once I had met that goal, he's, my mentor was ready to push me to the next level. And when I first started with LeeLoo, right, going from sim to LeeLoo was very different. Towards the end of my sim life, I was almost undefeated. Like, I was like, oh man, I can't lose. Like, it became
the classic, the classic,
like,
best
I'm
sim trader ever.
Right. Like, why am I wasting time with LeeLoo? Let me just go straight. Let me just put my money in, right? And he's like, no, listen, we were working on strategy. Now we're going to work on emotions. And so with LeeLoo, I was able to, and companies like LeeLoo, we're not the only ones. They will help, I think, on the emotional part. At least it did with me. And so I don't know if I can say, I'm not going to say the H word. I'll say I abhor the trailing drawdown. So it was not, like, I'm like, oh my gosh, this thing is horrible. And, I was like, and my friend's like, yeah, I know, great, adjust to it, get used to it, get ready. Okay, I'm like, okay, fine. And so, no, I don't think anyone I met was like, yeah, I love the trailing drawdown, right? And if they did, they're maybe a little weird,
Yep.
And so, but, LeeLoo, compared to the other companies at the time, and still today, only has one rule that will cause you to fail. And that's the trailing drawdown. So
right.
I could trade the open, I could trade the news, I can hold trades overnight, so I can do all that. So I only had to worry about that one thing. Once I got used to that, then, it was just part of the process. And my trading style, it worked out pretty good. I think it made me a better trader. So when I went to a live account, I was like that, that kid at the candy store, and I got a little too excited, right? And then I kind of had to go back to LeeLoo for a little bit to help me. Okay, wait, humble me a little back. Like, okay, no, we have a plan. If I can succeed at LeeLoo, I can succeed in my personal account. So it shouldn't change. It should, and so I had to, I had the little struggle like maybe most traders do. And then, then I was able to go back to my own account. But yes, to me, the trailing drawdown, while I didn't like it, I think it helped me save a lot of headache down the line.
Interesting, because you're absolutely right that within TRG we frequently discuss, the frustration that is the trailing drawdown, and how brutal and nasty it is, and there are a few companies that have either in some cases all of their evals, or at least a particular eval that has end of day drawdown rather than trailing. Have you guys ever talked internally, considered getting rid of that trailing drawdown, or at least offering like one type of eval that has no trailing drawdown, and just see how it does for your traders?
Right. Well, so I think one thing to look at, so looking at the business point of view, right, not just the consumer, right? How can we judge you? How can we say, okay, this trader should receive a performance account? And now this trader that's trading a performance account, okay, now we can decide whether we decide to copy him or not. Copy meaning copy the trades, right? And so, well, we have to have rules, right? Right, because you can't just go anywhere and pay $180, $220, right? And then go into a performance account and, have the leverage that you have to trade, 8, 12, 15 contracts, up to 30 contracts, right? That's if you trade a live account, you understand the power of that leverage, right?
Oh, it's ridiculous. The notional value of that many contracts is absolutely mind-bending.
Yeah. And so when you think about that, you got to say, okay, every company should, and I think they do, but they should have rules, right? The question is, how many rules and what kind of rules? And so now when Jody was creating this, right, the market, there wasn't so many companies like there are now, right? That are popping up every week almost, it feels like. But when she created this, there were some adjustments she wanted to, obviously had to make on the go, like maybe she was learning, okay, this is not the best way, or this is better. But one of the things she did at the very beginning is she said, I want to keep it simple. Okay. And I want to just have one rule that will cause you to fail. We have multiple rules, but only one will cause you to fail. and that's the trailing drawdown, and that's it. So, there's other companies and that says, hey, you can't trade during the news. Hey, you can't trade here. Oh, you can't trade.
Right.
You can't hold the market. So, if I'm a trader, because I went before I worked at LeeLoo, I went to try other companies out because I was like, hey, man, let's go here, let's go there. And they just had all these rules. In addition to trading, I had to worry about the time of day, the news.
Yep.
What if I wanted, I did a little swing trading depending on my setup. And so I'm like, oh, I can't hold this overnight. So now it's like, oh man, we're really kind of getting away from trading and we're adding all these other rules. Trading is already difficult enough, right? And so that was her goal. She's like, look, we're going to have a rule. Let's just make it one, the trailing drawdown. Now, we do have a static account. And I know the chief complained of that as well. It's only, like $635, something like that, of drawdown available. But it goes back to, well, we need, in that case, can you be patient? Can you start with one micro? Now, you can trade up to 2 full contracts, but people that tend to do well start slow, right?
Right.
And so we get those options. We have talked about, well, what if we did end of day, for example, right? But if you look at those other companies that do end of day, they have a daily loss limit. So yeah, they have end of day, but you can't lose X amount, which is less than your total drawdown available, right? So there's always additional stuff. We are very down to earth people. Jody, being a rancher, they use common sense a lot, and she's like, I'm just gonna keep it the way it is, and that's how she made it. And look, we have on average over 55% of people qualify to a performance account. That's true numbers, rather. It's closer to 60%. And then there's been months that up to 85% of people with evaluation go into a performance account. So the trailing drawdown is not the killer. The killer is the trader, right?
Right.
It's the
absolutely.
individual. So anyway, so I don't know if that answers your question, but
it did. Yeah, that answered it really, really well. And the trailing drawdown, there is one, I mean, there might be more, but in my mind, there's one distinct good thing that the trailing drawdown does do, which is that it forces you to understand how important it is to take profits at your P&L high and not let a trade go way in your favor and then come back and end up taking, it's still a profitable trade, but you've given back $800 of drawdown or something. I mean, you can't do that. You have to take profits at a P&L high. You got to take profits smartly and regularly, and that is, of course, a good habit to train for. So that's really, really good. That makes a lot of sense. One other thing you mentioned that I'm really curious to hear more about is the trade copying. So I guess I was going to ask you, if you guys trade copy trades, which obviously you just mentioned that you do. So tell us more about that. How does the trade copying work exactly? What is that about? Because I don't really know the inner workings of it other than I understand what the idea of copying a trade is. That's about it.
Yeah. So once a trader goes into a performance account, that's when we have the opportunity to copy them. Now, from the trader's point of view, like let's say from your point of view, you have no idea and it doesn't affect you in any kind of way.
Yeah, it wouldn't matter. Who cares?
So one thing I tell traders, is because my question, I had the same kind of question before I worked there. It was, wait, are you going to copy me? And if you don't copy me, or you're not going to pay me, right?
Right.
And so no, it has nothing to do. You will never know, and you don't. It doesn't affect you, and doesn't affect your payouts in any kind of way, right? So that's a risk that we take, right? Whether we decide to copy you, and we go based on data and different things, and I can't go into all the details, but in short, we just look at your trading. We look to see how you do. Do you have a plan? Do we see stuff? And based on that, we will decide to copy you or not. And if we copy you, great. It's a win-win. If we don't, we're taking that risk, right? And because if you make, the first day you make $10,000, we're gonna pay you out if you meet the requirements and all the different payout schedules. So that's not an issue. That's a risk we take. But it's just something that we're able to do when you become in a performance account.
Right. So it is definitely not automatic. You're in a performance account, therefore you're being copied. It's clearly it's not as binary as that, of course. Yeah, that makes total sense. So it's just at your guys' discretion. You see a trader who's consistent and profitable and steady and, not trading emotionally and being, being the several kinds of stupid that we're all familiar with. Then they make sense to take the risk of copying. And of course, then you're going to have your own risk controls in place to, track that and manage your own risk on your side. So, that makes a lot of sense. So back to the evals specifically. So the payout schedules, it's a once a month payout in a particular time frame. Why the once a month? And some companies do like once a week, or some do it anytime you want, as long as there's a minimum amount. What's the thinking behind the once a month payout?
Yeah. Great question. When Jody first started this, she looked at different things. And one of the things she wanted to make clear was, based on data and based on other companies, was she didn't want, and again, I can kind of share a little bit about my story if I may, but she didn't want traders to have the focus of money in mind. She wanted the traders to focus on their strategy, to focus on trading, and the money will follow. And so if she saw that in her mind, was that if they focus on payouts, just on a daily payout or weekly payout, right, that was going to be their focus. It was going to be a short-term live impact. And so if traders can grow their account, be consistent, focus on strategy, right, their chances of being a long-term trader was going to be greater in her view. And I got to witness that myself, right? Because again, when I traded with LeeLoo, once a month, I was like, "Are you serious? Come on!" I want to get paid now, right?
Yeah, who gets a paycheck once a month, right? That sucks.
Right. Yeah, I was like, and so I was like, "What's going on?" But it's funny. We constantly, when so when I went to my live account, right, with Ninja, for example. I can request, so any profits I made that day, I can request anything in my account. But what I started doing at the beginning was that every day I would request a payout from my Ninja, my own personal account.
Right.
And just because you want that feeling, right? Like immediate, reward, right? And so, it'll take they did it pretty quick. I think within 24, 48 hours, I got the money. And then what I started focusing on was that. And so suddenly I was changing my whole strategy to focus on daily instead of longer term. And so on a daily basis, right, I don't care who you are and what strategy you use, we all lose, right? You're going to have losing days. And so now I couldn't accept those losing days, right? Because I wanted that extra $500, $600 a day. So, or whatever it is, right? And so $100, whatever it is. But now it was like, oh, no, every day, because, it's a bragging thing, right? Like, yeah, I get $600 a day. And then, and then suddenly you have a losing day and you can't accept that. And so now you change everything about your strategy. You start changing the rules, and now you start over trading. You can't accept losses. Next thing you know, you're losing a lot of money, right? So I think when it becomes about money and what she had in mind, it's true. Focus on your strategy, focus on your trading, and the money's going to follow, right? If you have a good plan and things work out. Because on the long term, right, if you stick to the plan, you're more likely to succeed instead of, on a daily basis. So I think a goal with LeeLoo is focus on your strategy, okay? Don't look at it as I'm going to get rich this month, next month. No, it's if you stick to that and, whatever you guys do and tell people, they're more likely to succeed than if they're trying to get that daily payouts. And so that's kind of how she set that up and why I guess the mind behind that.
Sure. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, we talk again in TRG frequently about, don't trade your P&L. It's not about P&L. It's if you trade well, then, the money will follow. There's a quote I always like to repeat that I got from Alexander Elder. I believe it was in his, big famous Trading for a Living book, which is your job is not to make money. Your job is to trade well. And, that has always really stuck with me. And sure enough, every time Well, not quite every time. There are other mistakes to be made too, but a large percentage of the time when I blow something up, it's because I started thinking about the money and focusing on that instead of just focusing on the setup and the price action and the market behavior and all of the stuff. You start thinking about the money too much and you go off the rails really fast. So
absolutely, yes. And now I know there's one person out there thinking, well, that doesn't happen to me, and I'm so happy for that one person. But that one person is not the majority, right? So I'm only speaking on my view and but how Jody set it up. And again, going back to payouts, we've paid out a lot of money, and I can just speaking to me, I've received a lot of money from LeeLoo on payouts, and it has nothing to do with me working at LeeLoo or before working at LeeLoo. But I get to see traders and we celebrate. I know that me and some of the team members, we celebrate. We get so excited for them because we're traders, so we know the pain they went through. We know the sacrifice. It's like you're in a football team and you kind of go through hell week together, and you're a freshman and now you kind of graduate up and you're so happy for them because you know what they went through right to get there and what that means to them and what that could also mean for their family. And so we've had traders, get $85,000 payouts and, all these different numbers, and it's so excited. But even that first payout, I'll never forget my first payout was $1,000 on the 8 contract account, the $50,000 account I qualified with. I became a PA and I kept it, grew it, got $1,000 payout. And then I grew my accounts. Eventually I'll say, okay, I'm moving on to a different account, or I'm adding another PA account, for example. And it just, I will get better each time, right? And the payouts got bigger each time, right? And it's like a celebration, but it was over a month, months, not just days. And I think that's helped me, with, like you said, not trading my account balance or my P&L, but rather my strategy and focusing on that.
Right. All right. Well, we've got a question regarding the PA accounts actually from Wolf in the chat. And he says he's currently got 2 LeeLoo PAs. And the LeeLoo FAQ states that presently LeeLoo has not set a defined limit on the number of practice and performance accounts that can be operated concurrently. And then I guess he's concerned about, however, we recommend no more than 1, and LeeLoo reserves the right at any time to cap a trader or request that a trader not purchase more than they already have. And higher up on the same page, it also says the max number of total accounts allowed. We recommend no more than 6. So his question is, under what circumstances would LeeLoo cap the number of investor accounts for any given trader?
Yeah, great question. Thank you for asking that. Whoever that was,
that was Wolf.
Wolf, thank you, Wolf. I love this question because this actually a lot of people take this and instead of asking the question, they kind of run away with their own conclusion and they start talking in a negative way and without knowing the facts. So great question. I love it. So first, let's put it this way. When Jody originally, when she started this, right? Because I think she just, used a lot of common sense, right? She was like, well, she was hoping people would use common sense and have respect and, go into this with a sense of, honor and integrity. And unfortunately, we came to find out that there are some people in the minority, it's in a very few minority, that took advantage of that, right? We didn't have we were, I think, the only first company to allow traders to have more than 1 evaluation or 1 performance account, right? And so we said, hey, no, you can have multiple, right? Well, we have people come in and, buy, just that you won't believe the number, right? And so we just have to write, if you look at it this way, we don't want to limit you, right? We don't want to put more rules up, okay? So what we did is we put the words in the contract and in our frequently asked questions to say we have the right to limit you if it comes down to it. So if we see abuse, if we see malpractice, any kind of malice, we have the right to come up to you and say, hey, for example, Jonathan, you have 20 performance accounts and we are seeing that you're trying to pretty much just hit a home run. You know,
right. I'm spamming thousands of trades and getting one tick, you know, right. I'm abusing it. Yeah, totally.
Right. So what we will do is we're going to have a conversation. We'll say, hey, Jonathan, we're seeing this. What is your plan? What is your trading style? Right. And if you tell us your plan and we're like, oh, okay, look, he does have a plan and it's legit. I'm like, okay, that's okay. We're cool with that. Right. Now, if you're like, yeah, I'm just trying to hit home runs and it's obvious, right? You can see those, like, then yeah, we're going to say, okay, Jonathan, okay, once you blow those other accounts because you just keep hitting home runs, we're going to limit you. Let's keep it to 5 PAs, you know, or whatever we decide.
Right.
But it's not just like overnight, you get 5 PAs only, you know, that's it. No, it's not like that. It's a conversation. And that happens less than 1% of the time. So it's like the funniest thing because I can't even remember last time I had a call with a trader about that because that's more on the rare side, right? But it's more like we're looking for people they're trying to take advantage, right? They're finding a loophole and saying, oh, I'm going to spend this, but my outcome is, you know, but potential outcome is this, right? And so that's not what we want. We want real traders that have a, you know, strategy, that have a plan in place. And now that doesn't mean that one day you can't wake up on a Friday and say, yeah, I'm going to, you know, go big, right? I'm going to go 30 contracts in. You're welcome to do that, right? We don't require you, right? Part of the system is to have a strategy and to follow that to the dot. But long term, it's going to be better for you, but also for us. So anyway, so that's where that comes in, right? So we have the right to limit you. We have the right to do that. It's all based on conversation and it's based on your behavior. And so if you're not doing that, you have nothing to worry about. Regarding the cap, again, we didn't have a cap before, and we have a cap to protect us. But we have only used that, I know, one time, maybe twice. And again, it goes back to the abuse, right? It was not traded in the way it was supposed to be traded, right? So if you're trying to just hit a home run and you hit that home run on day one, you know, we're people of our word. We're going to pay you. But what we decided to say is like, you know, we need something to protect us in case of traders that, you know, buy 100 PA or evaluations and PAs and they're trying to hit the home run, right? And just going wild and they don't even know what they're doing. So we got to protect ourselves. But our goal is if you're trading over time and you're getting payouts over time, our goal is to not cap you there because we're going back to copying. That's when we can say, oh man, Jonathan, this guy is the real deal. Okay, he's getting consistent payouts. This is the guy we want to copy.
Right. He could make us some money for a change.
Right. Like, yes, let's do it. So if the only people that need to worry about this is people that are buying a bunch of accounts and trying to get a home run. And I call it a home run. I don't know if there's a technical term for it, but that's what I call it. But that's the only people need to worry about, you know. And first, even if that's the case, we're always going to have a conversation first because we don't want to assume anything. We just want to say, hey, what's going on? And because we believe in grace and mercy and we're going to be talking to you. We'll give you the benefit of the doubt and we'll work with you. But that's how that, you know, pretty much ended up being.
Yep. Perfect. That's great to know that you guys are so, you know, willing to have the conversation because that's the most important thing is as long as you can reach out to someone. You know, I've certainly had the issue with certain companies where I can't get anybody to communicate with me about anything. It's just impossible. But you guys have always been quite easy. I shoot an email out and I get a response. It's pretty straightforward. So that's great.
I've worked really hard on that. Jody did an amazing job and I wanted to continue that. We have almost someone working on support almost 24 hours a day. We're only missing we have a small gap of like 2 hours, 3 hours not being covered. Outside of that, we got somebody from midnight until about 9 or 10 p.m. So there's just a small gap that no one's covering, you know, support, if you would. And that's not including like me jumping in. I love doing support tickets. It's like really weird. Like people are like, why do you like this so much? Because I love talking to traders. That's the thing. I love talking to people and helping them out. And being a trader, there's nothing more frustrating than, oh man, I can't log in or I forgot my password, right? And you have to wait like 12 hours to hear back from someone. I didn't want that. So we got people working on the weekends. So we got Saturdays, Sundays, and then, you know, like I said, minus a few hours, we got people working from midnight to about 10 at night. And so for those little questions that, we're all hate to wait 12 hours to hear from. And now we have a live chat as well, for, I think, from midnight to about 4 p.m. Eastern. We have the live chat available for those kind of quick question scenarios. So yes, we're available and ready to help people.
Awesome. That's great. So I think there's Bauer's got a follow-up question about asking about the payout cap. Bauer, I think that Chris has explained it pretty thoroughly, but if you could elaborate a little bit on what exactly more about it you want to know, throw that in the chat. That would be great. And then we can get him to answer whatever specific detail that you want to know about. I would appreciate that. In the meantime, I got another question around the performance accounts I was asked, which is about basically, is there a reason or what is the thinking behind not being able to just pass an eval, have the performance account, and just let it sit dormant until the trader's ready? If a trader wants to pass 4 or 5 evals and have kind of a little stable of performance accounts just sitting there for when they're ready to go on each one with whatever approach they want to take. Why is it that these accounts have to be activated within 48 hours?
Yeah. So, well, 2 things. So you could get a qualify. You pay the data fee, and as long as you pay the monthly data fee, you don't have to trade it. You can keep it and trade it whenever you're ready. Now, so that's one of the things. Now, I wonder if you're asking about like, okay, I qualify, but I don't want to pay the data fee, and I don't want to activate it until months later.
Yeah, I think that's the question. Exactly.
That's probably the question. And so, if that's the question, so when Jody first started, that was the case. That's how they did it. They kind of, you qualify, and then whenever you're ready, you pay. And there was a lot of mess. I mean, it was messy. It was inefficient. So something she's big on, and we're big here at LeeLoo, is efficiency. Okay, because not being efficient costs money. It costs headaches. And so we're very efficient. Everything we do, we're trying to make it better and better each day. I work on that daily. It's something Jody and I would think about how can we make the payout process even faster, right? So to get the money to the traders. So as soon as they request it, my goal is as soon as you request a payout, we can get that payout, quickly to you. That's my goal, right? And so the other thing is, as a trader, right, I qualify, and gosh, I don't know if I can say this. Okay, before I was at LeeLoo, I traded with other companies also. And it's funny, they were so good at taking my money, but when it was time to get a payout, it was like you had to get a degree in like mechanical engineering just to figure this how this works. And I want to make that less of a headache. So when I qualify for a performance account, I want that quick. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but we just make that a reality. If you qualify, like let's say on Monday, you'll get an email sometime that day, maybe even the next day, but usually that same day, with 3 simple steps. And in those 3 simple steps, once you complete it, now it's kind of up to you, right? We leave it up to the trader. Now, you got 48 hours, but really, if you complete step 1, 2, and 3, you're going to get that performance account 10, 15 minutes after you've made that payment. So in theory, you could have your performance account that Monday that you qualify once you got the email from us. So that was one of my big goals, was getting you to trade faster, to get to your performance account. Now, whatever you want to do with that performance account, it's up to you. If you want to wait or whatever, as long as you pay the performance fee. But we started with, just whenever you guys are ready, let us know, right? Well, That's all fun when you have 5 people. Well, when you got thousands of traders, you got thousands of people qualifying each month, it becomes very inefficient. And so Jody set up a system that she worked with developers with that has everything moving along. So if you want to wait, then just don't buy a performance account. If you only want to trade one, only trade one and qualify with one, or pay the data fee. But we have it where we have to think about efficiency, and and that's just the way she has to set up. So that's why it's the way it is.
Right. Okay. And now, speaking of the monthly data fees, because some companies, of course, have a fixed one-time fee.
Yeah.
What is your guys' position on monthly versus fixed cost? Have you ever thought about offering a fixed one-time fee rather than monthly, or
absolutely?
Any thoughts on that?
We had that talk, and it's not something that's out the window, but so everything we do, we try not to do based on emotions, right? And so we talk about the pros and cons, right? What's good for the traders, what's good for LeeLoo. One of the things we looked at, and this is on my personal experience, right? Everybody loves, okay, for example, let's say, okay, I qualify, let me just pay $300. I'm just making up a number. I'll pay $300 and never have to pay another PA fee again, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's great if you keep your performance account for several months at least. It's not so great when you blow the performance account the next week, right? And so, in my experience, my first performance account I received at LeeLoo, right? I paid whatever the fee was at the time, and I got my very first one. I got a performance account, and it lasted like a week or so, and I blew the account.
Right.
If I had paid $300 or whatever dollars, right, I would have been not very happy, right? Like, oh, crap, I just threw another $300 away. That could have been like 2 months of performance accounts, evaluations or whatever. So now, if I keep the performance account, which I've kept, I think my longest was like, how much? It was like 300 something days, 380 days before I closed them down and I opened my own account. Then I was paying $88 a month, right? And then at that point, you're like, guess what? You're getting this payout. $88 is not a big deal at that point. Now, at the beginning, you're like, oh, yeah, $88, right? But, on those, you're like, yeah, I wish we had a one-time payment, right? So you're going to have a group of people that are going to be happy and some are not going to be happy, right? Because they're, if those are the keeper for a long time, they're not going to be happy because they're like, oh, I could have paid one time. But those that blow the account within the first month or two, they're going to be like, oh, good thing I didn't have to pay $300 at the beginning. So it's just a better perspective. And so that's where we're kind of struggling with that idea is, do we want, I think we're going to have more upset traders or unhappy traders, if they pay a higher fee up front.
Right.
And they blow their account. So it's really just, again, goes down to the trader. So I don't think one is better than the other, except that, if you can, look back and it's like, oh, I wish I would have done it if, you're on month, 24, then yeah, sure, it would have been a better deal back then.
Sure.
But there's just not a way to doing that. And again, imagine if you qualify with 3 performance accounts, qualify with 3 evaluations or performance accounts, you're looking at $900 for PA fee on the first month. And then you blow that a month later, that was like, man, that's going to hurt. So we've thought about it, and it doesn't mean we won't do it, but we're looking at all the angles and how we can maybe offer different options. But there's pros and cons to both, so I don't think there's a right answer.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, and, just from a pure business perspective, I mean, you guys, there's rhythmic costs every month, no matter what. I mean, you guys are paying monthly. So my pessimistic side says, that the one-time fee makes total sense for companies who expect you to fail. Who are setting you up to fail, because then they make more up front and then they can say, sorry, try again, go back to the eval. The monthly makes a lot more sense. So, all right. So Bauer has given the detail on his question about the payout caps. So he says he's got 250K accounts. So with 250Ks, what's the maximum amount of money that he can withdraw from those accounts? Is that a total of 100K? Is it 50K per account?
Okay. So let's do, I guess, a hypothetical. So let's say that we did cap him, okay? If we capped him, it'll be based on the largest account size, so 250,000, if that was the place. Now, I just want to be clear for those who maybe fast forward on the YouTube video here on the recording and they hear that. We have only capped, I know one person, but maybe 2 that I can remember. And that's something rarely used. That's there to protect LeeLoo. That's, like I said, it's so rare that I have to go and try to remember what happened and how we did it. But if we were to do it because we saw some, malpractice, any malice or anything like that, it will be based on your largest account size. So if you have 5 accounts and they're 50,000, 50,000, 100,000, and then let's say your largest one is 250,000, the cap will be up to $250,000. Okay.
Across all of them total.
Total, correct. Okay. But again, that's before we get there. There's usually a conversation, right? Like, hey, we're seeing this. What are you doing, right? Can you tell us your goal here? What are you trying to do? Are you just trying to hit home runs? Is that what you're doing, or you have a strategy in place?
So I think so. I want to before this gets too far potentially off on kind of the wrong track. I think what he's asking about is just not talking about any kind of potential abuse or anything like that. Just in general, he's got 250K accounts. Therefore, is it 50K per account is all he can ever withdraw from those accounts because they're 50K accounts, or can he just keep withdrawing forever?
I'm sorry, I misunderstood you.
Oh yeah, not sorry. 50. I see, not 250. Two TWO. He has two 50K accounts. Now I see the confusion. Got it.
No, okay. We will not enforce a cap unless there's a reason to. So if he's trading on a consistent way, meaning not that you have to win every time, but there's a plan in place, you do not have to worry about being stopped at $50,000. Once you get $50,000, we're not going to be like, all right, see you later, alligator.
Right. No. You can just trade those accounts forever as long as it's working.
Yeah. Right. Because that's where going back to, that's when we benefit the most is when we can say, whoa, look at Jonathan. He's getting regular payouts. Well, if you're going to get regular payouts, you're doing something right. That's the accounts we're going to most likely want to copy. Right. So there's no reason for us to say, oh, let's put a stop on this guy. Right. It's if he makes $50,000 in one day. So if this gentleman here makes $50,000 in one day, that's the cap. If we enforce it, it'll be $50,000.
Gotcha.
Scenario. Yes.
But it's not just a general purpose. You have a 50K account, so that's what you will ever be able to withdraw, and then you have to start over. No. It's not like that. No. Cool. Okay, great. Well, hopefully, Bauer, let us know if there's any follow-up from that. If that didn't answer your question, I suspect it probably did, but let us know if not. Pete's also got a question sort of along these lines of the time and duration for activation of PA accounts. He wants to know, are there any rules around traders who want to take a break? Somebody's going on, summer vacation or, taking a trip or just needs to take a break and reset from trading for a bit or anything like that. If they're funded, will they lose their funded account if they go away for a few weeks or is there any rules around that?
Yeah, just pay the data fee and you're fine. The only other thing that will be affected is obviously if you don't have enough trading days to request a payout. The first time you request a payout, you need 30 trading days. Excuse me, 30 trading days. And after that, it's just 10 days in between payouts. So besides that, just pay your monthly fees, you're fine.
Cool. Okay, so there's no penalty for inactivity or anything like that.
Nope,
so that's great.
As long as just to make that clear, as long as the data fee is being paid, well, we don't. It's not just data fees. We call it a performance account fee.
Right.
As long as that's being paid on a month-to-month basis, right? And it's not you don't cancel or it doesn't fail payment or something. As long as that's being paid, you can trade, take a vacation, take a break. I did that quite a bit actually. I took a lot of. And it was hard to do, but step away, right? So as long as you make that performance account payment, you're fine.
Cool. Okay, great. So I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about some technical rhythmic stuff. And this is timely because I know just recently, I think it was either this past week or the week before, I forget, rhythmic went completely down. For a little bit. It was down actually for hours, if I recall. It was a big mess, and I'm sure you guys had to deal with it too, and lots of people, freaking out and contacting you and so forth. So when something like that happens, when rhythmic actually goes down and nobody can trade and people are in trades that they can't get out of and so forth, how do you guys handle that? Who's responsible for that? Do you guys have a way on your end if somebody reaches out to you and says, I'm stuck in trades, rhythmic's down, I can't get out, get me flat. Yeah. Can you do that?
Yeah, so this is why we spent a lot of money and time on developing the LeeLoo app. So if you're a trader with LeeLoo, take a minute, download the LeeLoo app right now. Okay, on the LeeLoo app, the chief purpose of it right now is for you to manage your positions in an urgent manner. All right. Now, the time to not download the LeeLoo app is during the emergency, right? That's like the worst time. But at least you have the app. So we have an app. Okay. That everyone, iOS and Android, they can have it available, right? Kind of like next to you. And if you lose power, rhythmic goes down, whatever, right? You can get on the LeeLoo app and manage your positions from there. You can close your positions. That's it. You can't enter a new position. You can
so even if rhythmic is down, that function still works?
we tested it out actually on Friday or Monday when Rhythmic was down and we found out they were down. We tested it and we were able to close our position. So
excellent.
So it's kind of the funny thing. You can't test it until Rhythmic goes down. So
right, it's the only way you would be able to. Yeah, of course.
Right. But we did learn that you can, so that was good. What we tell traders is if that happens, if you always, the best thing to do is always have Rhythmic open, right? And I know, listen, I trade, I understand, I forget. I usually just open my Ninja and go at it, right? But listen, have your Rhythmic open, have Ninja open, okay? If you're logged in already into Rhythmic, if it goes down, a lot of the times, I don't know percentage, but I'll say over 80% of the time, you can still manage your positions from Rhythmic. The problem comes is when people haven't logged into Rhythmic, Rhythmic goes down. Now, let's say your platform goes down. Now you can't log into Rhythmic. Okay.
Right.
So if you're already logged in, right, most of the time it's not going to kick you out. Now, if something crazy happens, right, and it kicks you out, right, then you can log in. What I tell traders, email us right away. Okay. When they email us, we look at each case by case. All right. We look at the time you emailed us, your position you were in. Now, just to be clear, and this is, the way I think Jody looks at it, and the way I look at it also is, while it is a third party, and while I know you guys don't have control over it, we don't have control over it, it's ultimately the trader's responsibility to manage the trades. Okay. So we try to teach that because, when I trade with Thinkorswim or Ninja Trader, right, on my personal accounts, and something goes down, nobody's giving me my money back, right? Now, we look at case by case. We try to work with the traders, but there's not just a, one blanket fits all. Like, yeah, we're not just, here's, we're going to replace all your money you lost that day and all this stuff. So that's not fair for the trader. And the reason I say that is because that's not real life. Okay. So I know that's kind of tough to hear sometimes, but we're very realistic and we want you to be successful. And part of the game of trading, right, is we live in this imperfect world where there's a bunch of software, and you guys probably don't know much about software, right, Jonathan? So it's a joke. I know you guys.
Nothing at all. Nope.
Right.
Never heard of the stuff.
So for those that weren't here earlier, like these guys are a big deal in software. But things happen, right? And we always want, to live in a perfect world and fix everything. So we look at each one case by case. We do work with the trader, but at the same time, we say, okay, look, we have a lot of traders, not a lot. We have quite a bit of traders that will email us and like, yeah, I want my funds, like my balance changed back to where it was. They didn't even trade that day.
Right.
I'm like, wait, what? Yeah, we can see everything. Right?
You weren't affected. What are you talking about?
Right, you're good, right? And so we do the best that we can in a real world experience. But the best thing to do is to email us. As soon as you email us, just one email is enough. 10 emails are not needed. And typically what happens is we will respond back, right? We'll try to look at case by case, but we don't promise we're going to reset your account. We're not going to replace that because in any company that does that, I think they're doing a disservice, right? That's not real life, but we're providing you the tools to be able to manage your trades. And one of those tools is the LeeLoo app. And so if you have the LeeLoo app, you have it on your phone, you're ready to go, you should be able to close your trades or manage your trades from that phone.
Right. Cool. That's really good to know that it actually works, even if Rhythmic is down, because my assumption was that it wouldn't. So that's excellent to know. Now, when events like that do happen, have you guys ever talked about having some kind of an alternative backup feed that you could somehow switch to? And I'm not even sure if technically that's really feasible, but have you ever thought about having some sort of backup to Rhythmic in case of outage?
Yeah, I don't know about a backup, but we are working on. I got to be careful what I can say here. It's always that's the hardest part of this is knowing what I can say and can't say.
Hey, it's ask you anything. So
yeah, ask me anything. But within there's a lot of things in the works that gosh, it's so exciting. Like if you guys can see all the stuff we're working on, you guys will be equally as excited. we are working to provide, different options besides with it. And so that's going to be happening. It's just time consuming, right? Getting everything set up. And so traders will have more than just one option. But regarding a backup, I imagine you're talking about like in the middle of a process, can you switch over?
Yeah,
I don't know if
rhythmic goes down like it did.
Yeah, I don't know
can
if
I switch to CQG or something?
Right. I don't know if that's. I'm not unlike you guys. I'm not a software guy, so I don't know if that's possible. But we are going to have different options available in the future, and so that we're working on right now. And so, but again, the LeeLoo app, I can't push that enough. It's we got to test it during a situation like we had Friday, and so that's probably the best line of defense.
Gotcha. All right, so watch this space for more to come there, which is cool. Now, speaking of the space, we had a lot of us we're always kind of talking internally within TRG, and we're curious about wonder what's really going on. There's so many of these companies appearing all the time. Can the space really support this many different competitors? And we've seen prices falling and sales getting more aggressive and all this sort of thing. Curious to know, what are your opinions, views, imaginary scenarios, who knows what, about the evaluator, try that again, take two, about the evaluator space, over, say, the next 18 months or so. Like, do you see just a race to the bottom with just things getting cheaper and cheaper to try to get people, companies consolidating any other potential whole evaluator space things that you see sort of out there on the horizon?
Yeah. Good. Yeah, that's a good question. Let's see. First of all, regarding other companies, I believe, and I know Jody believes this too, there's enough room for everyone. And anyone that tells you otherwise, I just don't think they're not thinking enough. Okay. So I think that's not an issue from my point of view. We want, I think the American way is competition, and I think competition makes you better. And so we love competition. I am the most competitive person you're probably gonna meet.
I'm more competitive than you are. I don't know. Let's go.
I love that. I was expecting that. I would have been disappointed if you didn't say that.
Hey, you lobbed me a softball. I'm going to take a shot at it. So
that was good. Yeah, I just love it because it does make you better. The other thing, though, is one of the things to look at is LeeLoo has always been leading the way, innovating in new ways, and we're just early on our phase. There's multiple things that are going to be coming that we're going to be adding. That's going to be not just what we have now, but it's going to be also very different and other options we're going to be offering. So we're on the works on that, and we've been on the works on that for years. It just takes time to do, right? And so we are already innovating something that nobody has done and is doing, and probably won't be able to do for a while, right? Because we've been working on it for so long. That's how long it takes. So is it a race to the bottom? Oh, listen, we hope and we wish every other company well, but we're kind of in a different, we're actually not even in the same category, Those companies, from our point of view, right, from your point of view, right, it seems that their goal is just to do a certain thing, and we have different goals in mind, so that kind of puts us in a different category, per se. The other thing to look at is the reason we run sales. A lot of people don't know this. I've told a few people about it because they ask me about it, but there's a reason why we run sales. If you guys ever follow the Chris and Nick show, our YouTube channel, or LeeLoo YouTube channel, I like to have fun. First of all, Jody likes to have fun. We just like to have sales for a couple other reasons. So we have traders from all over the world, Jonathan, and we realized from the very beginning that not every trader has the opportunity to pay $220 a month. And they may be great traders. They may have a great strategy. They maybe went to, they've spent a lot of time learning, but yes, they just don't have, the money to pay that on a regular basis. And so you will see us run some crazy wild sales. And when we do that, the main purpose is that to keep those traders in mind, those traders that are in South America or, in the Middle East, for example, Central America, that, their dollar to their value of the dollars was, it's crazy. So we want to give them a chance. And we've had traders one example is we had a trader from Colombia who didn't have, the financial means to, pay $220 a month. And because of a sale that we had, he was able to qualify and he was able to get into a performance account and he was able to get payouts. And I mean, talking about living the dream, he was able to, and I'm not saying this happens to everyone or what happened to anyone, but that is the reason, one of the chief reasons we have sales is to give those who maybe don't have the funds to be able to do it, especially those from other countries, right? Now, obviously, if you're in the US, great, and we equally cheer for you. But we're also mindful of other people from all over the world, since we have traders from all over the world. And so when you see us do those sales, that's kind of one of the reasons why we do it. So, and we've had traders that when, they got a $5 evaluation and got into a performance account and they've been requesting payouts for like multiple months. And, I get emails all the time from them saying, oh my gosh, thank you. Because of this, I was able to do this, right? I can't live my dream. And so we just want to give people a shot. We can't tell you that you're going to be successful. We just want to give you a shot. And if you have a good strategy and you take your time and if you're not over leveraged, you're most likely to succeed than compared to those that, go all in on the first trade. So that's one of the chief reasons why we have those kind of sales. It's not, let's go beat out this other company. Because look, traders are going to flip flop. If those looking for the deals are only going to follow the deals, they're going to flip flop. Majority of our traders stay with us. Okay. And they stay with us because they know what we pay out. They know that we're a company of integrity and trust, and that, we do what we're going to say we're going to do, and that we've been around. So, but anyways, that's one of the reasons I just wanted to share why we have those deep discounts or even those giveaways we give out. During the YouTube channel, we have little fun giveaways, is to give those traders that may not even have the funds, to say, hey, let me go all in. It's, we give them a chance.
Cool. So here's a sort of a second part to this that I understand may be a little sensitive. You may not be able to really truly say everything that you think, but was asked, if you think there are any of these other competing companies out there that maybe are running things a little too in the red or what have you, or may blow up, maybe not pay out, maybe not be able to be around terribly long because of the way they're running their business. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a tough one, right? I don't know what their numbers look like, how they're doing business. All we can say is we generally wish them the best, and we hope they're doing the best for the traders. And everything we do here at LeeLoo is traders in mind. I joke around. On our unofficial slogan between Jody and I is for LeeLoo, for traders forever. It's got a unofficial. It's not. Please don't write this down. But the longer the traders live, right, and they have a performance account and they can stay with us and they're getting payouts, the better for LeeLoo. So a trader's success is LeeLoo's success, right? But also because we generally care about the trader, you'll probably never hear this from anyone else. I have told some traders, hey, you may be better off going to this other company. And they look at me like, wait, are you saying I should go to your competitor? I'm like, no, based on what you're telling me, it looks like that might be a better fit for you. And because I want the best for you. And that might be LeeLoo, or that might be this other company. Now, I'm not endorsing them in the sense of, are they going to pay you out? I don't know. I hope so. And so far it looks like they have paid people. But what I'm saying is, we want the best for traders, and sometimes that's not LeeLoo. And obviously, if they go somewhere, we want them to get paid out if they're supposed to get paid out. And we hope that this other new companies are coming up and they're running, this crazy sales just for numbers' sake. Everything we do is calculated, right? We know the risk, right? When we run a sale, we know the risk. We know how much we're losing. We know all that. So we don't just emotionally say, hey, let's go do this. Everything we've done is calculated. And we know what we're losing and how much we're willing to lose to give people a shot. So, so I hope they, I don't know how this other companies work, but I hope that they have the traders in mind. And if they have the traders in mind, then they're going to do good to run things in the background because they want to stay around for a while. So I hope that's the case.
Gotcha. All right. So I'm curious to know if there's any particular time of year or anything where you see like the most resets, the most people blowing up, like around rollovers or economic reports, big macro events, Christmas, blueberry picking season, like anything. Is there any correlation there when you guys see the most blowups?
Yeah, good question. It ultimately just comes down to the trader. And I you already know this answer, Jonathan, without working on LeeLoo. Sure. It's all about the trader. How is the trader? If you're trading one micro and you're going slow and are you going to blow your account in one trade? Most likely not, right? So it just comes down to the trader. So no, there's not a necessarily time of season that we see greater spikes necessarily. It's just down to the trader. Now, there may be more traders that trade during, let's say at a specific time of the year, but at the end of the day, it's just about the trader and how they trade.
Cool. Well, that's good to know. So we don't need to worry about, beware of August or whatever. So cool. Do you guys, speaking back to the LeeLoo app, have you got plans to add more to it? Like right now, it just is flatten all. Right, and that's it. And so Maria was wondering, she'd like to be able to adjust stops, targets, partially closed positions, really kind of manage her trading from the app. Do you guys have any plans to try to make that a reality?
Yeah, I think what I can say is that, Maria, you're going to be really excited about what's going to be coming up. It's it takes a lot of work. There's a lot because we have to work with multiple companies and different softwares, and there's just a lot of things in the background. It's a lot of work involved. And so just getting to this point took a lot of work. But I can't say maybe specifically what's going to be happening, but there's going to be a lot of fun stuff that's going to be where the LeeLoo app is somewhere you're going to be spending a lot of time in the future, I think. It's going to be one of those apps that, after you check the weather, you're going to be on your LeeLoo app quite a bit. It's not just a place where you're going to be able to do trading related stuff, but I think other fun stuff that you're going to want to be involved in.
Cool. All right. So I had a personal question I was just curious about that I kind of forgot to ask earlier, but now I just remembered again is you learned trading, you started a handful of years back. It sounds like probably just before micros were a thing. I also started with futures about 2 years before, about a year and a half or so before micros existed. And we sure wish micros had been around at that time. So did you learn on just purely minis?
Yeah, great question. Actually, it was around that same time. And I remember my mentor at the time, I had no idea, but he says, man, this is a game changer. This is going to open the doors for so many people because of the margins, right? He was thinking more of a funded account. But yeah, the way he told me is like, look, what's going to kill you, Chris, is being over leveraged. And so if you do one micro, that's, if you bleed, it's going to be a slow bleed at least. So, but yeah, I trade micros and, eventually based on my strategy and based on how I grow my account, I go into a full contract. But yes, I trade micros. I think most people that tend to do well trade micros.
Mm. Cool. Yeah, the micros were definitely a game changer. I started out trading RTY because from a margin perspective, I had to do minis, and it was at least the cheapest that I could find and the smallest, most granular risk. But yeah, micros would have been a whole lot better to learn on. That's for darn sure. Absolutely. Let alone evaluations. So very cool. All right. Let's see. Do you guys have any plans down the road to add other indices like the Asian indices, Nifty, Hang Seng, stuff like that?
Yeah, I think one thing I can say to that is we're always open to anything that's compatible with what we have and what's offered, what's available through our, our like Rhythmic and in this case. But we've in the past we had Forex, but the provider stopped offering that, and so that's why we don't offer it anymore. Also, I think the first tried I think it was a price issue. It was just crazy, and they were just that, and then they just stopped offering. So, but yeah, we're always looking ahead. Right now, what's going to happen for this year, it's already in the works, right? What's already planned for next year is already in the works. So we're already looking into 2024. Now, there's always something that can pop up between there and now, but we have so many things in the work. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of getting it done. It's projects that take a long time to do, unfortunately. But we have so many things in the works. We're so excited for our traders. I'm excited to be involved in this part of LeeLoo's journey. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of fun stuff. But yeah, right now that's not available. But it doesn't mean that it can't change if something happens or any changes happen.
Right. Okay, cool. So there was a question actually earlier in the chat that I think sort of ties into something that you've already mentioned in passing, but we didn't really kind of focus on it, which is just that it sounds like the traders that you see that stick around the longest, that have the most consistent success and so forth, are slow and steady. They're not going for big giant wins. They're probably trading micros and trading just small and consistent. Would you say that's right, or do you have consistent traders who are also just doing huge swing trades, stuff like that?
Yeah, no, I think it's going to not be. I think what kills people is being over leveraged. And so just because let's say you buy the 300K account, you can trade up to 30 full contracts and 300 micros.
It's a trap.
Right. I don't think, well, it's not a trap. I just don't think you should start out with that. Now, eventually, as you grow your account, then again, everybody has a different trading style. The way I do it, right, is I trade a certain number of contracts based on my account value. Right. And so eventually I got to 30 contracts on my style, based on my own rules. Right. And LeeLoo, we give you that freedom to do that. Now, what you do with the freedom is up to you. So, because maybe you do have a style that you could do it in a way that it's safe for you. And then, we want to empower you if that's the case. But like you mentioned, I think most of the traders that tend to do well, they start slow with micros. And again, that's what I would tell people. I would imagine other companies don't want to tell you that or wouldn't tell you that. Because, right, if you go 30 contracts full or whatever the max is, you blow your account, you got to start over. Look, take it slow. Listen, I'll be one of the few people to tell you this. Take it slow and take a break. I wrote an email out or a blog, I think, not too long ago, telling people, hey, take a break from LeeLoo. Take a break from trading. Like, how many CEOs will go out there and tell you, hey, don't buy our product? Like Coca-Cola coming out, hey, don't buy Coke for like a month,
you'll never hear that. That's for sure.
Right. You're not going to hear that, but we want to, because I think that's a healthy way for traders, take some time off, if you do evaluations with us, I don't want people to say like, oh, he's only telling us that so we can pay the data fee or the PA fee. Like, no, listen, if you're taking an evaluation with us and you just failed your evaluation, take a break, step back for a couple of weeks, a month, or whatever you need. Refresh, go back to sim. Okay, that's totally okay, because I believe when you come back, you're gonna have a reset in your mind and probably potentially do better. So again, not too many people will tell you that, but we want to encourage that. We want you to take it easy. And again, I think if you focus on your strategy, okay, you're going to tend to do better than rather than focusing on the money. And I think you guys preach that at TRG. So
yeah, most definitely, very, very much so. All right, we got one final question actually that snuck in about the app again, or sort of about the app. It's actually just about having a dashboard in general. What about having a live dashboard in the app and on the web as well would be great to be able to track progress instead of always having to go check our trader.
Sure. yeah, like I said, there's going to be some changes coming up. You guys are going to start seeing changes, on a daily, weekly basis. But then there's going to be changes also on a monthly basis. So I think as you see the app growing, you're going to start seeing more of the stuff you guys are talking about. But it just unfortunately, just takes a lot of time. There's a lot of work behind the scenes to make that happen. But give us time, and we're going to get there. Just like this other thing we're about to push out. Actually, I don't think we've told anyone. So this might be the first place where we share that.
You hear it here first.
Here it is. We're going to have a merchant page on our website for traders, or in this case, TRG, to be able to advertise and share your indicators or strategies or groups or trading groups, like or different things that traders will be able to look at, and then go to your website, your TRG website, and go buy and be involved in. And so that's another thing, pretty much a merchandise place they can come and check out different things for them to be able to add to their arsenal, or classes they can take, or be part of chat rooms like this one that they can be involved in.
Yeah, that's fantastic, because we definitely are always we're trying to be quality over quantity. So in the world of trading education companies, TRG is small, but I've been like so many of our members. I've been through the 22-ish, 23 years or so I've been in and around trading. I all of that time until TRG was spent chasing all the BS nonsense that's out there. And it's really, really hard to find truly good, high quality, genuine education in this area. A lot like it's not necessarily easy to find a company who will fund you that really has their act together and really cares about how the trader performs. And obviously that's a focus of LeeLoo's. So that'll be great. That sounds like it could be a really good fit to help each other out and help TRG grow, as we also encourage people to use LeeLoo intelligently and get themselves funded. So that's awesome. Keep us posted on that for sure. So I think we can kind of wrap this up with a special offer that Chris and the gang have been kind enough to put together for us TRG folks, which is 60% off of lifetime subscription to the Aspire 25K or the Launch 50K evaluations. So you can hop on over to LeeLoo and use the code TRG60. Get yourself 60% off either of those two evals, and that will be good through the rest of the month, up to 10 per trader. So if you know what you're doing well enough to be copying, or you've got several different strategies you want to try in different evals to keep them kind of siloed and separate, then you can get more than one. So thank you very much, Chris and team, for putting that together for us. We appreciate it, as always. And I think that's probably about it. We've gone just about 90 minutes, so kind of the perfect length. Any final questions, last burning desires, as we say in TRG? Anything you just got to ask Chris while you got him, throw it in the chat. And I'll give you a chance, Chris, as well. If there's any last parting thoughts, anything you want to leave everybody with, go for it.
Yeah. And by the way, guys, thank you so much for having me. Loved it. And one thing, I'm sure you guys all know this, but 60% off the lifetime of the evaluation, right? So if it takes you, 24 months to qualify, that 60% off is going to apply for that time until you either qualify or you cancel that evaluation. So just keep that in mind. It's a great way to go nice and slow and not be and have a little less pressure on the pocket.
Oh, I thought it was a code for my lifetime. So for the rest of my life, I get 60% off. See, that's
There we go.
That's not what it is? No, really? Oh.
No, it's not. No. You'll be surprised.
Awesome. All right. Well, awesome. We love talking with you, Chris. This was great. And maybe we can, do more stuff like this in the future, and definitely keep us posted on that whatever you end up calling it, partnership page or whatever it is, because we would love to be a part of that. That'd be great. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Appreciate each and every single one of you, and we will get this recording out later today. As soon as it's all processed and available, I will edit it together and post it for everybody to watch who may have missed it, or I know at least one person, their internet cut out on them partway through, and they missed a big chunk. So you'll be able to catch up on that later today. So have yourselves a great rest of your weekend, everybody. Those of us in TRG, of course, we got the Sunday reopen today, so we will see you later today at that. Thanks again, Chris. Thanks, Jeff and Lee, for being in the background helping with the chat. And
thanks for hosting this JVC, and thanks for making time on your weekends, Chris. Much appreciated. And I see from the chat that our members here and some of the guests, they really appreciate hearing stuff directly from the horse's mouth, or is that the right term to use?
The cow's mouth?
Maybe.
I mean, they're more cattle ranchers than horses, I think so.
I think the horse is higher up the food chain, though. So
that must be it. Cool. All right, gang. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you soon. Ta-ta.
Bye-bye.